We are God's masterpiece. Ephesians 2:10 says, for we are God's masterpiece. He has created us anew in Christ Jesus so we can do the good things he planned for us long ago. That's awesome. How would you like to go through life knowing that you are God's masterpiece? Let me tell you something. When you came into this place this morning, you were God's masterpiece. When you leave this place this morning, you were God's masterpiece. 5 years ago, you were God's masterpiece. It doesn't matter what you think of yourself or what the enemy says you are. What you need to tell yourself is that God says, I'm his masterpiece. That is not something to be taken lightly. That means that, yeah, you might slip up, you might fall, you might fail in some way, you might do something wrong. Hey, we're human. That's part of the human condition. But we are still God's masterpiece. There are so many works of art. What is it, the Liberty Bell that has a crack and now it's noted for that crack? It's like, it's known because it has that imperfection. Sometimes our imperfections cause us to stand out. Sometimes it's the imperfection that God has instilled in us that causes us to stand out and be the most effective for him. Because that person that's perfect and clean cut, doesn't, it's like putting a square peg in a round hole. You need a round peg for a round hole. That little ball that we used to have for the kids with all those shapes and everything used to drive me nuts. We tried to shove a round peg in a square hole and it doesn't happen. Why? Because the round peg is not God's masterpiece for the square hole. The square peg is God's masterpiece for the square hole. Now, some of us might be that little shape that goes like this, and then that, and then back again. We're not all going to be clean cut. We're not all going to be the square or the circle. We're going to be the star. We're going to be the curved piece. We're going to be the half moon. We're going to be all these weird shapes. But that's how God created us. That's who we are in him. We are his masterpiece. If every one of us were a circle, boy, we'd have a lot of wheels. We'd go a lot of places. But we need circles and squares and all these different shapes to make the world go round. What we need are all of those pieces that are fit together, and only God knows which one you are. But when we look at ourselves and we say, hey, no, I'm such a failure because, oh man, I slipped up, I made a mistake. Listen, God didn't say you're a failure. He said you were his masterpiece. He didn't say you would be perfect. He said you were his masterpiece. He didn't say that you would not fail at something in your life. He said you're my masterpiece. When your son or your daughter makes a mistake, do you immediately say, you know what, you're not my son anymore. You're not my daughter anymore because, you embarrassed me. That was the wrong thing for you to do. No. We take our child and we give him a hug and we say, I love you. And even if you've made a mistake, I love you just the same. Because nothing will change the way I feel about you because you're my flesh and my blood. You're my child. You're God's masterpiece, but you're my son. You're God's child. You're my son. You're my daughter. You're part of me. When the word tells us that we are sons and daughters of God, that means we are a part of him. We share the same DNA. The same blood flows through our veins. That's what we need to tell ourselves. That's what we need to tell ourselves. Why? Because it's the truth.